this meeting being the last of 3. So we met on February 2nd, then again on March 2nd, and tonight's meeting is the last. So before we really get into the meat and potatoes of the meeting, I just have a few quick announcements. Everyone at check-in, you were greeted by myself or Priscilla, and you probably filled out one of these nifty registration forms. This is very helpful to us. Hopefully you wrote legibly, because this will entitle you to membership. No, it's not really membership, but you'll be registered with Newark People's Assembly and be put on our listserv to receive the emails about things going on in Newark. All right. The next series of meetings that Newark People's Assembly is hosting is entitled Solving Stormwater Issues in the City of Newark. So in true Newark People's Assembly fashion, for each of our monthly meetings, we have 5, one in each ward. They're typically the same type of meeting, but if you can't go to the one that's scheduled in your ward, you can catch another one that's scheduled, but the same meeting in essence. So this is going to deal with flooding, water quality, litter, bad smells, and one person already asked me today, will we also discuss catch basins? Absolutely. And the importance of making sure that they're clear. If you do not know, the Mayor's State of the City address is on Tuesday, March 12th. Hopefully each of you in here plans to attend, and you already have a ticket. If not, mine have already distributed, but good news, we still have some left, so you can contact me either after or go to room 407 or 209 in City Hall, and there are ample tickets for you to attend.
That's from the NJ Pack.
Oh, also at NJ Pack's box office, that's where the State of the City actually is. It's going to start at 6:30 on Tuesday. Young men, I really hope that your mentor, teacher brings you, because we're really trying to engage the youth, and we want you to be able to share the information that the mayor's bestowing to the city for other youth. Okay, thank you. All right, and last but not least, the city has 3 grant opportunities. So the first one we have is a lead hazard reduction grant. So if you qualify, and I'm not going to take up too much time, you can see me after. If you qualify, there is an income guideline to this. If you are able to qualify, the city will provide funding to abate the lead in your home. The second is a down payment or a closing cost grant. We have this for employees as well as residents. It is income restrictive, so all the information is here. And without further ado, I'd like to just say welcome again and call Chris Watson, City Planner, up. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And good evening and welcome to our third and final meeting for the South Lincoln Gateway Redevelopment Plan. Before I go any further, I want to welcome you all, and I want to welcome some city officials. I want to welcome the city's Chief Executive Officer and the interim Deputy Mayor and Director of EHD, and Natasha Rogers. Natasha, come on. And so that Natasha could just share some quick hellos with us and maybe give us a quick glimpse as to what she expects from her new role and department.
Good evening, everyone. Just a mini correction. I'm not the CEO of the city. That would be the mayor. I'm the COO of the city. She said chief executive.
Chief Operating Officer.
Chief is the person who voted for 70%.
Sorry.
Mayor Ryan Baraka.
Chief Operating Officer.
But as of Friday, I became the interim deputy mayor for economic development and economic and housing development. I was already the COO. I was appointed in July. I came here from Goldman Sachs doing real estate transactions and private equity. So I have about 10 years of experience in this. So it was suitable for me to step in while we do a national search for a new director to focus on all of these projects in addition to the other $4.6 billion of investments that is within the city's portfolio. So I'm really excited about this because I think it's a great opportunity for us to engage and really do hands-on conversation about your community, your neighborhood. So I'll be here for, I don't know, we'll be here for the duration. I'm doing dual roles, so I'm working, 12, 14-hour days. So I'm going to try to stay as long as I can, but feel free to reach out to Chris. You need to reach me or talk to me, and we'll arrange some sort of mechanism for us all to get together and talk in the event that you would like to do that. So thank you.
And I also want to give thanks to the planning department staff, Upendra, who's our supervising planner, Pallavi, our principal planner, Juan, who helps us with everything planning and research, and our professional planning representative, John Barry. And for all of the other city officials that have really come together to help us bring these 3 meetings together. So, by our show of hands, who in the room tonight is in the room for the very first time? All right. So, before I start the presentation, I'll just do a quick recap of the last 2 meetings and why we are here. So, the South Lincoln Park Gateway Redevelopment Plan, some of you at the tables with the map, it outlines the area that we're talking about tonight. So our redevelopment plan is really an opportunity for us to be more prescriptive in terms of precincts and how we help bolster redevelopment in these neighborhoods. The South Lincoln Park represents one of these unique precincts in the city where we really believe that through this type of community conversation and prudent planning practices, we can really bring some economic vitality back to this neighborhood and really have it function as the type of neighborhood we heard we wanted to function as. As such, this practice is for us to be here, listen to your thoughts, listen to your ideas, and then go back and use our professional planning tools and come up with strategies as to how we can get there. So that is the main thrust of why we're here tonight. So for the past 3 meetings, we were going through some key, let's call them buckets in a sense, key themes as to some of the things we want to see change in this neighborhood. And those key themes revolve around public space, safety and open space and recreation, parking, transportation, mobility, economic development, housing, and urban design. And the maps you have in front of you, the past 2 meetings, what we were asking participants to do is identify places on this map that they think are problem areas as it revolves around these themes. So the red dots you see on the maps in front of you represent what the community told us as places that they think are problem areas. Now those dots that you see are yellow dots. Those were areas that weren't really identified as problem areas, but areas with the greatest opportunity, areas where we should really pay keen attention to as we go through this planning exercise. So tonight's presentation is, sorry about this. So tonight's presentation is based on some of the visuals on what is here now and some of the things we think will come to this neighborhood based on the feedback we got from you. So I'll go through those slides, and then afterwards, we want to use this opportunity as like somewhat of, not the final, but one of the opportunities where you as the community residents will have an opportunity to get back with us and say, that idea looks great, but I think it could be tweaked this way, or I would like to see more or less of a particular idea. And we really encourage you to jot your thoughts down around these themes on the map itself, because we will be taking them back and using those ideas to better edit our redevelopment plan as we write it out in the next couple of weeks. So please feel free to write on it, draw on it, do whatever you think you need to do on it so that we can really understand your ideas for your neighborhood. Okay? So the first slide just shows you the boundary of the neighborhood, and that's the same as you see on the slides. But when it comes to like public space and recreation, these are some of the existing conditions as they are in the neighborhood. And what we were hearing echoing throughout the past 2 months that we've been meeting is that these spaces need to be reprogrammed. They seem isolated in terms of their use. Some of the feedback we were hearing is that the parks need to have more activity for children, more activity for adults, more activity for seniors. We even heard about people and their pets, right? So what we think will work with some of these spaces as we reprogram these spaces is bringing the type of things that we heard of. Dog runs, doggy parks. You know, when one participant talked about pets, I thought they were joking. So Juan and I decided to just walk this neighborhood one day. And I say, no, Juan, the best thing we can do is walk and count dogs. People talk about pets, let's go see those pets. And sure enough, as we're walking, there are dogs all over. There are dogs all over. Why not a doggy park? Why not a doggy park on identified city-owned parcels that we can convert into these type of spaces? Spaces that are not just community spaces for adults and children, but for their extended loved ones, their four-legged loved ones. And then nice quality innovative spaces for children. So we can really hear the laughter, really hear the type of noise that define a community. Places where not only children can enjoy a day, but adults also can enjoy communing with each other. And so these represent some of the type of things we think that we could honestly be bringing back to this neighborhood. And then we heard a lot about the existing transportation infrastructure and how Broad Street seems as this dangerous place. It seems as this separator from the east side of Broad Street to the west side of Broad Street, just because of how wide it is, the lack of proper signage in the neighborhood, the lack of innovative crosswalk ideas. So what we think that we can help solve these type of problems is by narrowing a street, bringing the type of green infrastructure that closes the street off, makes it a bit more intimate. And less of this widening effect that you see here, and something more calming that is more pedestrian friendly, more inviting. Prioritizing public transportation by giving them a dedicated lane. So for most of the residents, in the first meeting we identified this neighborhood as having a low socioeconomic status. People in this neighborhood average about $35,000 to $40,000 a year, which is a very low income for this neighborhood. And a lot of the residents talked about the use of public transportation as their means to get around, and how slow that public transportation is just because there aren't things like dedicated bus lanes. So we think that by just this small urban intervention, we could really help citizens, residents in South Lincoln Park. And then we talk about the economics of the neighborhood. And there was this need for more neighborhood stores, especially around supermarkets, places where people access food. Pardon me? Oh, people did mention Aldi's, Trader Joe's, Aldi's, the type of stores where the prices are reasonable, the products are fresh. And we certainly know that we have the space for those types of stores. People talk about, the fast casual restaurant. How do we make one of the boundaries of this neighborhood, MacArthur Highway, a conduit for fast casual restaurants where people coming from the airport or coming from Elizabeth can stop and get a quick burger as they move through Newark. Bringing things like small boutique hotels to the neighborhood, just because we're so close to Newark Airport. You have a layover. Why stay at an airport hotel that has none of the amenities when you can just hop in an Uber, $7 away, and there's a cool boutique 7 minutes away in Newark where you can go get some great local cuisine and enjoy, even if you want some fast casual. And then we talked about the light industry that this neighborhood could support. Because as we go more south of this neighborhood, we see this type of light industry. And along Freeland-Heisen Avenue, we still want to bring in the type of jobs that will support residents in this neighborhood. And then, in terms of urban design, it's very eclectic. And the topography of the neighborhood seems to meander in such a way where it can support a single family home with 3-family walk-up apartment building. And we think through some innovative new designs, we could bring this type of infrastructure to the neighborhood. I know Pastor Ramos, who's in the back, has grand ideas of opening a 75-unit affordable housing complex on Broad and South Street. Broad and South Street. So imagine this being Broad and South Street. And imagine half of this being affordable for the people right here. So this is the type of thing we think could be happening. We think this also could represent the Marias, you know, and they're open and the opening slide, which is their building, and as they're trying to bring in the type of loft living here, you know, these type of things will work in this neighborhood. And I really like this slide, because this slide shows that as we bring new housing opportunities in, it's not that we are trying to displace what is there already, but see how nicely it blends into the neighborhood? So it brings in more of that density, but yet allow for those of us who are here to stay here. Then as we talk about public health and public safety concern, there was a loud voice in the room that talked about the easy access to drugs in this neighborhood, how unsafe it is walking at night, lighting being a problem, you know, dark corners, you're not seeing people on the street just because they're afraid of being robbed, being mobbed. And we just thought, we think like with good urban design, we can help that. Increased police presence and surveillance, more public spaces where there are more people on the street, so they become this hidden surveillance in a sense, because it has been demonstrated that as we increase foot traffic on streets, crime goes down, because human beings act as a hidden surveillance. We look out for each other. So just about how we build these quality public spaces that will help that. How do we reimagine Broad Street with this type of cafe lifestyle where these are essentially your surveillance. Bring in new lighting so we can help in terms of changing the narrative of our neighborhood. And we know that that narrative will be changed with public infrastructure, public investment, private investment, and also with citizen investment. Encouraging your neighbors, encouraging ourselves to be part of the development we would like to see by doing the things we know we can do. We heard a lot about garbage and litter in the neighborhood. And I think that if we can be the police of our neighborhood, see something, don't say something to the person that you're seeing doing it. You know, excuse me ma'am, excuse me sir, this is not what we do in our neighborhood. You know, pick that up please. So this captures some of the ideas we heard and how we could better foster this neighborhood. So these photographs were basically just visual demonstration of what this written document will be written to accomplish. So for the next half an hour, what we will love is for people from different tables and non-city staff to give us comments, give us feedback, look at the map. You know your neighborhood better than we do. For those of you who weren't here before, tell us some of those problem spots and what you think we can do as we talk about these teams, around these teams.
Quick question.
Yes, question.
When was this picture taken, the map? When was it taken? Can you tell me?
Oh,
You know when?
like less than 6 weeks ago.
Are you talking about the aerial
Yeah.
photographs, sir?
This
Yeah.
thing on the table.
The top-down picture?
Yeah.
That's the most recent one from the state, that's from 2015.
2015?
Yeah. Yeah. And they only do it every so often, they go around and take aerial photographs of everywhere. So that's from 2015.
Question, commentary around the teams. Yes, sir.
Yeah, you mentioned, well, from what I gathered, you mentioned, pardon?
Oh, Mike.
You know I used to be a freestyle rapper, right? I might remember this. You mentioned, from my gathering, from what you said, that you wanted to narrow Broad Street,
No, I don't.
a narrowing of Broad
This
Street.
is
It's a question, first of all.
no, he's not saying anything that we're going to do. The purpose of this meeting is to gather ideas from you all. So if you misinterpreted anything that he said as the goal is to do this, that's not the goal.
That's
These are
not-
just ideas that were presented.
Right,
That's it.
and I think I used the word mention. I didn't say that you were actively in
But
construction.
he can't answer your question because that's not even what the intent of the room is, and that's not his intent. It's not his intent. Like,
Okay,
we're not
so
gonna-
what-
it's not a Q&A. I'm sorry, it's not. It's more of a collaborative conversation about the neighborhood.
Thank you.
There is
From
no
what-
plan. The plan is.
Would you like to speak for me?
No, I've been seeing you all week at different meetings, and I just don't want to take time away from all these people that came here, including you, to focus on this event right here. That's what I'm saying.
Okay, are you done?
I'm done.
All right, so what I'm saying is, from my understanding, the traffic that flows in, and because I'm a driver, and I come off of 109 or whatever, 22, that type of, that area to me should be, like you said, broad. Broad, again, I lived here all my life, and from what I gather, that should not even be a consideration for any type of, maybe a bus lane, fine. I just said a dedicated bus lane, but to narrow Broad Street would in my opinion, would decrease traffic flow in that direction, especially during the morning hours and the afternoon hours from 4 to 6.
Okay, thank you. Yeah. Yeah.
Any other comments? Yeah, Pastor Ramos.
There was I know that there was talk about building, I'm sorry, there was talk at the last meeting about building up maybe 20 stories or beyond 5 stories on Broad Street and 21. Is that feasible? Is that a possibility?
Well, right now that's not permissible, right? So Pastor Ram is talking about increasing height density, right? So one of the things that comes out of a neighborhood meeting like this is that after we have heard your voices and we have done the demographic projections of the neighborhood like this, we go back and say, you know what, maybe some increased density on some particular corners would make sense. Density, some particular along certain conduits, like the 21 or along Broad Street or even Pennsylvania Avenue. But at no point are we thinking 20 stories and that level of density. But density is part of the conversation as to when you need more density in order to, one, retain your residential population and attract new populations as the neighborhood change. Because one of the things you see result in this type of neighborhood planning is that the neighborhood changes. It becomes more desirable, more and more people come in, and for us to stabilize rental income and home prices, we need to allow density so that the market doesn't use the limited stock to push prices up.
And also, in last meeting we discussed about making Broad Street pedestrian friendly corridor. So in order to have us that kind of pedestrian feeling and retail decent density would always contribute to our broad economic growth, also our family growth. So that's what.
Just really quickly, because I'm one of the people that this is the first time that I've been in here, and so I just want to be sure that as we give suggestions and whatnot, I have clarity. You said that the red dots were identified as problems.
Yes.
And I'm going to ask 2 questions to go along with the dots, and then you can answer it. And the first one is how is a problem defined by the people who identified these as problems? Just to be sure that I know when we say problem that we're thinking the same thing. And then the same thing with the yellow dots, which I believe were marked because they are good opportunities for development. I'm wondering how you defined or how people that identify these areas defined good opportunities, again, so that we are speaking the same language with the same meaning. And also thank you all for the staff that's been doing this. This looks like a lot of work. So I definitely appreciate everything that you've provided here.
All right, just to answer your question, right? So you notice that there are some photographs accompanying the map, right? So for instance, with this yellow dot right here, that is closer to the boundary right after South Street, there's a photograph of this widening. Yes, I think we have it here too. So how wide that street is. So that would definitely be a conversation around transportation, a a conversation around safety, you know, and how do we now, in a sense, make a road like this something that seems less unsafe. So, for all of the dots, there were different particular issues at play. It could have been crime, it could have been recreation, it could have been a dilapidated house on that corner. Does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
My name is Sal Johnson. I'm the CEO of Charge Edison. We're an electric vehicle charging station brand, a startup that's based here in Newark. And we're also the title sponsor for, or we're prospecting to be the title sponsor for the bike sharing program, similar to like City Bike. Obviously, our first portion of what we're looking at is the downtown area, so we're talking with the powers that be, private and public sector with that. But then we're also looking at what our first extension outside of downtown would be, what neighborhood would be there. So that was the nature of us being here. I think the coast, because I'm very partial, I graduated from Arts High School, so I'm in Newark, right? So I think the coast, that's still the coast of the area. If you grew up, you know that this was called the coast. I think it would be a great neighborhood. Have you guys delved into anything in relation to bike paths, things of that nature, possible bike sharing programs? Because we'd love to kind of come in late, but be as much of a partner as possible.
So only last night at City Hall, we had this conversation. Oh, you were there? Yes, so only last night, well, you were there. That this is a question that the planning department in conjunction with the engineering department is having. As a matter of fact, at our meeting on Saturday, that was something that was being talked about a lot in terms of how do we access Penn Station from the coast, from this neighborhood, knowing that the bus always just a mile and a half of the street take longer than you can walk sometimes. So how do we bring in that type of last mile infrastructure of a bike sharing program? And this conversation is also being, we're having this conversation with the South Lincoln Coastal, the Lincoln Park Coastal District, Anthony Smith. So it's not your interest, but also the interest of some of the neighborhood anchored institutions. And it's not official as yet, but on the 25th, we're trying to have a tactical urbanism forum in this type of setting where we can talk about some of those types of tactical urbanism issues. Yeah, so it is a conversation that we're having and something that we're serious about. Others? Questions, comments? I'm pretty sure, Pastor Ramos, I'm pretty sure your table has more comments. Celso.
She wants to talk, she let her talk.
So we have 4 or 5 minutes left. Do you guys think it's going to be better if I just allow you 20, 30 minutes and you guys could maybe break out on the table and have that conversation privately at that table, and then we spend 10, 15 minutes wrapping up by having one person from the table give a presentation about what were some of the key points you discussed? Great, so
Chris, one of your bullet points here speaks about public safety. And in fact, it's one of the major issues in this community, right? Public safety. And there's been a discussion going on, an ongoing discussion, maybe about a mini precinct for this community. This community is in dire need of public safety. For years, we've been lacking resources. In fact, we're between two wards, between the East Ward and the South Ward. And Broad Street here belongs to the East Ward, but the South Ward patrols us.
Well, it's the east-facing side of Broad Street.
East.
And east and south is.
And so, moving forward, I would suggest highly that there not only a mini precinct, but the police presence needs to be a major factor in this redevelopment, in this redevelopment of this neighborhood and area.
thanks, Pastor Ramos. So again, I want to be clear as to when we move forward these type of neighborhood plans is that we really do listen to suggestions. And whilst we can't promise that yes, 80% will be coming, but it's definitely part of the recommendation section of any redevelopment plan. Based on the echoing from the neighborhoods, these are some of the physical changes they would like to see. These are some of the new public investments they would like to see in terms of solving this particular issue. So thank you again for saying that. Just put about something that falls in that here. We really pay keen attention to concerns like that. You other one comment? Yeah.
You mentioned using the city-owned parcels for redevelopment. Are any of these yellow or red dots city-owned?
So none of the dots really are indicative of parcels. They're just about places in this neighborhood that residents thought that we should really pay keen attention to. But we do have a database of city-owned parcels within this precinct. So for the next 20, 25 minutes, just have as robust a conversation as you can at your tables, and then we're going to ask for one representative to give us some good feedback as to some of the ideas that you have coming up to that discussion. All right?
Resident on Pennsylvania Avenue. So a few of the things we spoke about, I guess first and foremost is the crime in the area. I know there's talk of a mini precinct somewhere in the neighborhood. I think that's of paramount importance. While at the same time you're doing redevelopment or promoting redevelopment, it has to go hand in hand with tackling the crime issues. So a mini precinct anywhere in this zone I think would be good. Another thing we spoke about briefly was mobility, bike lanes, bike sharing programs, bike everything. I personally work in Manhattan. I know there's people in this room who work in the city also. Getting to the train station, if it could be made easier without waiting an hour for the bus, that would be great. It is quicker to walk there than it is, to wait for the bus. We identified some areas along 21 where the Easy Pass building is, the big parking lot there. It could kind of be promoted into, doing something, either shops, cafes, something of that sort. And it'll kind of anchor the park there off of Boston Street. And the abandoned lots, city lots, abandoned homes, that's something that needs to be tackled, kind of promoted for redevelopment and things of that sort. Say good? That's good. Done good.
Thank you, sir, so for that table's feedback. What about this table? Who has been identified as your spokesperson?
My name is Musa Torre. I attend North Collegiate Academy, and basically I would like to say thank you to all those who attended and gave me this opportunity to speak. One of the first things we stated was basically like something as simple as lighting. Like instead of the orange dim lights, like make it brighter so you can feel comfortable walking down any street or taking any corner. Another thing we talked about was like the green, where when you presented on the slide where there was trees in the middle of Broad Street or even on the each of the sidewalks, like that'll make it more pedestrian friendly. We talked about recreational centers where the youth or anybody can basically socialize with ping pong, table, anything, chess, checkers, where you can just socialize. Yeah. Like he said, art, including art.
He said
where-
art. That was
I
his
said
idea.
art because, no, me, I don't always, I'm not like the video type of kid. I'm video gaming type of kid. I write, I do many other stuff, including spoken word. So something as simple as that, where you can express yourself, is will be a good thing. That includes, additionally, cleanliness, where you don't always see trash everywhere, because that is kind of, it's not the word for it, but it doesn't, like a turn off where it doesn't always, you don't want to be around it. School involvement, where if you rep a school, like, oh, if I respect Shabazz and Shabazz is saying, oh, don't litter our streets, like I'm most likely not going to litter their streets. So if you have school involvement in certain things, I think that's very feasible. And youth involvement, where like me and my friends and other young people, we can add our voices into something and have that respected. And most of this falls under entertainment. And yeah, that's what we talked about at our table.
See, one of the great things about these type of community meetings is that we hear from a wide spectrum of people. And I'm very glad to hear that we have young people that are finding their voices to talk about the type of things they want to see in the neighborhood. Because I'm looking at you and I'm thinking 15, 16, and I'm giving you 70 more decades of life. So what he's talking about is living here for 70 more years with the type of infrastructure that would really enhance his and his peer group's life. So thank you so much. This table, little one here.
Okay, we actually had a pretty lively discussion here, and before we go in, I want to commend the young man who just spoke. It definitely, the component of arts, I think, is very important. I think anytime that you're building any society, that you're going to have some sort of artistic component to it. Sam, is what you're saying? I got you.
Good see you.
I was sitting with each other. So I think, any type of community has to have art, at the forefront of it. So I thank God that you brought that up. I appreciate it. You just kind of remind me of myself growing up around here, going to Arts High School, and just being a part of this neighborhood. It's always had a historical and artistic connection. So to see the youth, you make me very, very, very proud to see a young man like yourself taking time out on an evening like this to be a part of the future of your community. So I didn't want to go without commending you for that. And I hope that you stay that way forever, because the city needs you. The city truly, truly needs you, so, and many more like you. Now, past that, what we talked about here, we talked about landscaping of Broad Street, like from Franklin headed north. So I think landscaping obviously is something that's very important just when you're coming into the city just as an aesthetic. So that's something that was brought up here. Bike lanes, we talked about bike lanes. I don't want to sound like a shameless plug, but I'm obviously good on bike lanes. There's dedicated bike lanes, protected bike lanes, and you will understand the nuances of those things too. The difference between just having a bike lane, then also having a dedicated bike lane, then also having a protected bike lane. If you go into New York City is very good at having all of those things. They have dedicated lanes, and they also have protected lanes the way they're built. A lot of that is already happening in the city, so what I would suggest is the power that be here in this community, talk to those that are already doing it, which I think is great. The other thing we talked about here is changing culture, and I think Maria talked about just the culture aspect of the way the neighborhoods are built up. They're not really built for pedestrian, what I call collisions. Usually you're parking in your building, you're going in, you're leaving out your building and going wherever you're going. And there needs to be more pedestrian-friendly environments for collisions here so that people can know their community. That's changing the culture of things. We also talked about, bike sharing. I'm trying to get off of bike sharing. Bike sharing will allow for easy access, specifically to Penn Station. Oh yeah, this is a good point. Right now it takes, we heard, about 45 minutes to arrive at Newark Penn Station by bus due to traffic. So if we can come up with other ways that folks can get around a lot quicker. And also, I think what's great about bike sharing is that it's a really great tourist opportunity. I think this is a really great historical neighborhood. Part of the neighborhood is part of the historical registry, if I'm correct. And so things like audio walking tours.
if there are different places in the neighborhood. Also, Symphony Hall has a new CEO, from what I understand, that is going to be coming in and doing some great things. That's a centerpiece of this cultural community, I think. So changing culture is important, and we're together. Oh yeah, Pioneer. The ladies here, Maria's, had talked about this becoming a pioneer neighborhood. And I think it's nothing wrong with thinking big on that level. I think this neighborhood historically is a world-renowned neighborhood. It's always been. And I think to reclaim that, you have to think big. You have to be able to say what we're doing here is going to be a benchmark and it's going to be a blueprint for other neighborhoods. Am I speaking? A model neighborhood, exactly. So that's, I think, something that they want to strive for in relation to what we're talking here at the table. Is really what happens here should have a ripple effect beyond just the city of Newark, beyond just Lincoln Park South. It should be something where I say, you know what, we want to go with the Lincoln Park model whenever someone in Shaker Heights, Illinois is looking at something. So they have high aspirations. I think it's something that was talked about here. Sanitation. An issue that was brought up here is that the sanitation department, which is, I just found out recently, brought back into the city, needs to be a little bit more diligent in caring for how they pick up trash. From what I understand here, about 2/3 gets into the trash trucks, and the other 1/3 is part of the streets. For what I'm hearing for the Maria. So if that can be better engagement there, that would definitely help. And also it goes back to what the gentleman was talking about, keeping litter free and having the neighborhood feel like it's a place, pride of ownership, pride of neighborhood. So working with sanitation is something that was mentioned. The workers cause litter. And barriers. Barriers needed for empty lots. That goes without saying. Obviously, you don't want to have an empty lot that doesn't have any type of barrier to it because you're just subliminally inviting people to hang out there, to dump there, to do a myriad of things there. So looking at those areas, and also just something that wasn't mentioned from a real estate standpoint, I'm sure the developers know, sometimes when something is not barricaded, you don't know if you're a prospective investor what the status of it is. By simply just putting a barricade around a lot, that might very well trigger someone's interest in the property. So those are the things that we're talking about, which was a great talk.
Go to the back table and we'll end with this front table.
So, I've been living in Newark for 17 years, but I've never lived in Lincoln Park, so I don't know about Lincoln Park. But I'm glad that 2 people at my table have been in Lincoln Park for quite some time. So they had come up with some dope ideas. So this C-Town that's on Clinton Ave should be a Trader Joe's.
There's a lot of space.
There's a lot of space. It's perfect space for Trader Joe's.
Burnt down home, right?
Burnt down home, right.
We just use that, and it's central to the people coming down to Menlo Page.
Trader Joe's is like the major grocery area.
This whole area is gonna be fed with a nice.
And then right here, this whole blue area, we're gonna put a mini police substation because this is really hot. It's really hot. Even in wintertime, it's hot. So we're gonna put a police substation right here. Okay. And then we're gonna put some cell phone computer charging stations along Broad Street over here where people wait for buses.
We're talking about 2020 technology. People need to charge their phones. It's making it inviting. We need
like the ones in Military Park, pretty much.
Right. We need to have power.
Okay. So then we talked about. Also, I talked about no new developments without parking, right? So the lofts at Lincoln Park. Right here on Thomas Street and Clinton Ave. And so they made sure they had parking on the first level and then 4 levels of condos. So the city should not allow any new developers to do that without parking.
Any type of park.
So back to some other stuff we thought of. Some open family entertainment spaces like bowling alleys and
this section right here, it needs some life. Coming through Broad Street, through 21, we need some family-oriented activities that people can get into.
Also, if you're familiar with the Hain building, there's a company in there called Launchpad. Launchpad is a company that started in New Orleans and Memphis, and they opened a co-working space here in Newark last year. And so at first it said WeWork, and I'm not a fan, so I crossed that out. And we put Launchpad. So there should be, so for the self-employed entrepreneurs, business owners, people that are employed at a job and just want to get out the office, we're going to have some sort of launch pad co-working space in this area over here, right? Between 21 Broad Street and Pennsylvania Avenue.
Right, that's the future though.
That's the future. So a couple other things that we spoke about that we didn't really put where, but cute restaurants. That's a term. Bed and breakfast, boutique bed and breakfast, gym and fitness. There is a metro on 21, but that's not really here. That's not really for that area. Yeah, so Tobias wants me to say that we're trying to invite people into the Gold Coast culture, right? What else? Sprinklers, for the open spaces for the kids, things like water parks and sprinklers and stuff like that. Come up from the ground. I think the West Ward Center of Hope off Irving Turner has something like that, like a water park. So that would be cool. And what else? Okay, I think everything else was mentioned by other groups. I don't want to be redundant. Thank you very much.
Last but not least, this center table.
We got just what y'all did. Now we're gonna hold up to. Gotcha. We'll go up there so everybody can see it. Come up there, come down.
I can order that. I got it.
Especially if you're down with one.
All right. If I say anything, all right. So hold up.
So I only have one comment. I'm a resident of Lincoln Park community. I've been in Norfolk for 16 years, 15 years, but I've been in Lincoln Park for 1 year, and my name is Kim, so I'm a little biased because I work closely with Anthony Smith at the Lincoln Park Coast Cultural District. And I only have one thing to say about that beautiful last presentation. We're not going to do the Gold Coast. We're going to stick to what the mayor's father called Lincoln Park, the Black Barbary Coast. Shout out to Mary Baraka.
Black what?
Black Barbary Coast. That's how the Lincoln Park Cultural Coast District got its name, because he added the coast. So, what we talked about, are we flipping it the other way? Other way. Thank you. Thank you. So this is the viaduct, right? Is this the viaduct? Yeah, so coming off the viaduct, so our pretty much goal is, we focused on like economic development, tourism, and also residents. So right here, there's that big warehousing thing when you come off the viaduct. And we're saying that with the tax credits, what they are in terms of the TV and film industry in New Jersey right now, Newark is not really, with our current film studio, we just don't have the infrastructure to really bring a lot of the productions that are shot indoors because of the sightlines at the Ironbound Film Studio. So if you look at Kaufman campus, what we were thinking was this big warehousing area down here in general, that big thing, if that could be repurposed as some sort of like entertainment, film, television campus, which would then bring those type of productions. We'd also have more than one facility in the city of Newark, so we could bring more of those type of productions. More people who want to stay at hotels that would be built right off the viaduct and around this campus, as well as more mom and pop businesses that would benefit, that are along within a block or two of the campus. So just really when you come off the viaduct, boom, you know, you have our kind of Kaufman studio type of experience, which is in Astoria, Queens, and they shoot a lot of stuff there. Another thing that we talked about is coming on down here, our idea of a police precinct is where we have that storefront that was never used. Where is that? Right here, next to the gas station. It was supposed to be something in Broad and I can't see.
Murray? Yeah, I know. Yeah.
It was built as a pharmacy, but never really opened.
It was built as a pharmacy and never opened. So it's the new gas station and then it never opened. Also, we talked about this, in terms of parking, I thought about the Maple Wooders, if you will. How do we get those people to come into downtown Newark who may not necessarily want to take public transportation, as we know, which is closer to NJ Pack and all that, but we're trying to get people to come down this end
so we can have some sort of nightlife from Newark Symphony Hall and our mom and pop's economic spending money. So if we had more parking on kind of the outskirts here, but also making use of this underused lot behind the urgent care, if we can make that somehow self-park, you know, so that people are really just a block off and walking distance from Newark Symphony Hall, which is our anchor institution down there as well. So we do need more parking in general. We talked about the traffic issues. And also right here, if you've ever driven, which street is this? This little triangle piece, and people gang up their cars and kind of park down there. By 21. Yeah, oh, Titchener. Right here. Could you hold this up higher so you can see, like right here? So we were just saying, like, this little mishmash of random buildings and stuff right here, if this triangular piece could be residential and commercial at the bottom, and this could kind of be a park that is green space but programmable, then we're trying to figure out how we can create, so you have parking from here, walk to Broad Street, you have a mass of people kind of living here that would also make use of this park, but also be able to walk to Broad Street. And then of course we have our film industry going on and livable spaces down here in hotels, which can also walk to Broad Street. Our goal is to connect this part, which is kind of desolate, as everyone has pointed out, with this part, which is between Newark Symphony Hall and Lincoln Park. So everything after South Street is kind of really dead. Nobody goes down there. I would see it even after Rite Aid. Yeah, that's South Street. So we're just trying to connect the two ends of the Lincoln Park South with, not just for residents, bring in tourists, people to spend money. I think that's what we talked about. And we identified with the little stars where we thought maybe some electric bike stations could be, because we definitely think there need to be some electric bike stations by the Link School Jackson Park, by this new building that we suggested, by Lincoln Park, Newark Symphony Hall. Did I miss anything?
Yeah, the electric scooters.
Yeah, electric bikes. The bike, scooters, all that, like stations where we should have other modes of transportation that are economically friendly.
And just looking at some of the general traffic issues
Oh.
around the pick up and drop off at the school, some of the morning patterns.
Yeah, drop off, morning issues around the schools in terms of drop off and pick up of kids. And also down here, we have to have more than one movie theater in Newark, right? So around this entertainment kind of other district anchoring, mirroring, we should have a movie theater and also like our own kind of Nina Simone type house of art space that can also earn income, which could also be a gallery, theater, like we gotta be able to have theater culture in Newark in small spaces so that, you know, we have our own off-Broadway before you go to the 2,500 seat theater. We should be able to have theater spaces of different sizes.
Yep.
Okay.
Thank you so much. I think I have my bias. So the three meetings we had, I think this turned out to be one of the better of the three. The type of feedback we got was it's the type of feedback we want to hear in terms of when we go about writing these types of redevelopment plans. As I was saying throughout the past 2 months, we're not really the experts in the room. You are. We just interpret what you say and we write it into our planning language. So with that, I want to say thank you very much. This has been a completely open and honest process. Our work begins, and in the next coming weeks, we'll be gathering all the information we heard over the past 2 months and develop the type of neighborhood redevelopment plan that we think we know we've heard you say you want. That product should be finished in the next coming weeks to a month, and when it is, we'll make sure that everyone in the room knows exactly how to access it. All right? And with that, I want to say thank you. I want to say thank you to Andrea Mason and the Newark People's Assembly. They're doing a fantastic job in order to connect with neighbors, residents, and neighborhoods to the city. So thank you, Andrea.
Thank you, Chris. And I'd like to say thank you to all of you that came out. It was a very fruitful meeting. It was solution-driven, and I think that the Housing and Economic Development team really got some good ideas, and hopefully, no, not hopefully, I know that these ideas will be implemented in the plan. Maybe not 100% of them, but we're gonna aim for 98.
Yes.
All right. But thank your team, thank you guys. 3 meetings, well done. There's plenty of food, well not plenty, but there's food left, so please take it. But I really, really just appreciate everybody coming out. This is what North People's Assembly is really all about, making your voice heard.